Hello, everyone. It's Mike at Downtown Comics, and I'm here with James Rossman. Hi, James. How are we doing?
Good, Mike. How about you?
All right. So we started out doing this, and we were just talking comics. But if we remember from the first episode we did, we wanted to talk about the Superman trailer. And we said, well, it's only a trailer. How long could we talk? So we went ahead and talked about the first couple episodes of Creature Commandos. Seemed like that video did pretty well.
Yeah.
And we like talking about the movies and the TV shows, and there's so much coming out in 2025.
Yeah,
so
excited.
Figured, hey, let's do another episode. So we're just going to talk about Creature Commandos, and it's going to be episodes 4 and 5, I believe, of the series. Okay. So first, for this one, though, we're going to talk overview for a couple of minutes, and then we're going heavily into spoilers. So we'll let you know so that if you don't want to be spoiled, you can turn this off and come back maybe after you've watched it. So, all right. So first off, general thoughts about episodes 4 and 5.
I really like episode 4. I really like the character Weasel, but honestly, episode 4 is maybe my least favorite, I would say, out of the ones that we've gotten so far. But episode 4 was pretty much all about like Weasel and his backstory,
Right?
Because we open up with what was it? Rick, Rick Flag and the princess. They were kissing, and Rick was telling her that they have to take Cersei back to the U.S. because they think she's a bad guy and stuff like that. But it's funny because we get I think they called the Weasel like John Doe or something, because when they get back to the U.S., Weasel's like lawyer is there, like ready to
Sure.
Yeah. So
Sure.
But in every episode, obviously, Frankenstein. He's after the bride. So I mean that's not a spoiler, but it's just like it's so funny because it's like an ongoing thing. It's like
it's weird because he's obviously in the credits like he's a major part of the team, and yet he is definitely a side character. That is slowly getting woven in because obviously every episode seems to have a backstory. So 4 was Weasel, and then 5 is actually more Frankenstein. Is in number 5. So, and then I would say that 4 and 5, this is where the plot thickens and turns on its head, right? So overall, though, I'm with you. I mean, the Weasel one was kind of that episode that it needed to breathe a little bit and then shift into the next phase, right? So a big left turn, which we'll talk about in spoilers. And then number 5 is just a weird one, and I'm just trying to wrap my head about it. So maybe we can get through that as we talk about spoilers. So I think overall, obviously, this show is I think its big claim to fame would be that it surprises me every episode. It goes at least one part goes where I don't think it's going to go.
Right, yeah.
And I would say that, like you, on episode 4, that's the first episode that I thought went where it was going to go. Like, I kind of, we'll talk about it, but I knew the Weasel storyline. I kind of, I was like, oh, okay, I know where this is going. Kind of thing. And I was right. And so I like it when I'm wrong because that surprises me. But I will say overall, though, this series is constantly, doing something, it goes left when we think it's going to go right. So we liked them, obviously. That's why we're talking about it. So, but yeah, in general, Weasel's episode 4, and then Frankenstein gets his due in episode 5. All right, so here we go. We're going to do spoilers now, so turn off this video and then come back if you want to see our thoughts on the spoilers. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, spoilers. All right, so episode 4. So we find out the big reveal is the fact that it may be one of these, what's the show? Oh, man, I should have had this in my head before we started this video, but the one with, it's the Stephen King one where the guy becomes president, but he's going to destroy the world. It's Anthony Michael Hall. Dang it. You guys in the comments, you know what I'm talking about, and I should have had that information. I'm sorry. But so we find out they beat Cersei, but then what? They find out...
Yeah, they find out that, she actually might not be the bad guy.
Right. And so who do we think is the bad guy now?
The princess.
The princess. All right. So, and she has some sort of clairvoyant power.
Yeah.
Which allows her to see the future, but not in any real way. It just comes to her.
Yeah.
And of course, what comes to her is the princess going all, I guess, not going all Adolf Hitler. And,
right, yeah.
And taking over the planet, or at least doing some major World War III shit. So, stuff.
Yeah.
Can we swear in this video?
YouTube,
sorry. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah. So, kind of going back to like the Weasel, he, what was it? Rick was talking about. He's like, oh, he's killed 27 children. And
right.
His lawyer basically was like, oh, well, 8 children, like allegedly, like basically. So, but we find out that like, there was a fire and, the police see Weasel and they think that he's the one that's like, killing these children when obviously, in reality he's not. And so he gets like shot multiple times and we're like, how did you survive this? Like,
yeah, well, so, and it's pretty gruesome also because the children do die.
Yeah.
And like I said in the non-spoiler, I mean, I guessed very early on, like, oh, this is going to be one of those cases of it seems like one thing, but it's another. And the fact that Weasel was in no way responsible for the kid's death. It was these other people that, that were fearing the Weasel because he's just a weird looking creature that he was harming the kids and in doing so caused a big accident so Weasel in fact wasn't, at least in that particular situation, was not the perpetrator but part of the victim. And I think they also kind of intimated that that's what kind of drove him even more it seemed like he was more just like a feral cat kind of thing, but then after this he went stark raving mad. He just could not handle the fact that all these kids died.
And it kind of really makes you feel really sorry for the Weasel.
I mean, they're trying to play on our sympathies, and I think one of the strengths of the show, and maybe even one of its weaknesses, is so far there's no real good guys. I mean, definitely anything involving Amanda Waller, there's no good guys. And so, they all have kind of redeeming qualities, but are still not people that you want to hang out with. Exactly. I guess they're not heroes, I guess. I mean, I what else happened in that episode?
When you brought up Waller, it reminded me of when, when Cersei was telling, like, showing Waller about like what the future will be.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of, when you see Waller freak out, you're like, oh, that's kind of weird.
So she has to actually mind meld to prove, to prove that she's telling the truth, because basically what they bring in an expert on Amazons or whatever and says, Cersei's got clairvoyant powers, but then everyone else is like, well, couldn't she be making this up?
Because they, she's binded, so she's, she, her hands, and I don't think they let her go. She just does the mind, right?
Right. She, they're like, well, how can you prove that you've seen this vision, right? And she's like, well, the only way I can do it is to basically mind meld with you. And she does it, and then Amanda Waller goes, she's like, oh, okay, well, I believe her now. Which I think when we get into episode 5 is going to bring up a little bit of a plot point.
It does,
stuff. So overall, the worm turns. Like if you were, the big cliffhanger on episode 3 was the fact they beat Cersei, and then she says, well, dang it, you just destroyed the world. And everyone's like, what? What are you talking about? And then we find out why in this one. But it was kind of, it's not a filler, but it's obviously it took some time to breathe and get the next story arc going. So so I guess if it was the weakness of it, it's the fact that like Weasel's backstory, I thought was a little obvious. If you're watching an M. Night Shyamalan movie in the early days and you're looking for a twist, you can usually figure it out. And so if you're looking at it, what is the James Gunn way of writing this character? You're like, oh, he didn't Weasel didn't eat a bunch of children. Something else happened that caused him to think they ate a bunch of children. Now, if they said that 27 children at some point die, who knows? Yeah,
right,
we don't know what Weasel is, though, right?
True. Yeah.
Do we know is Weasel in the comics, or is he just a creation of like?
Well, yeah, because the first time I was introduced to him was in James Gunn's Suicide Squad
right.
movie. Yeah.
So I don't. So if Weasel's not in the comics, we have no idea what Weasel is. Is he a human that's been metamorphosed, or changed, or is he an animal that has semi-human intelligence, or is he something else? Like,
I guess it didn't go too much on his background.
He just showed up.
Yeah,
he just showed up and played with kids for half an hour. So
yeah, I wonder if there'll be more to that, because obviously, and it was announced that season 2 is already greenlit.
They did. Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I was oh yeah, maybe there'll be more of him and his backstory.
Well, I mean, the one thing I never count on though in this show is, will a character live till the next?
Yeah, that's true. You cannot. Yeah.
So I can't. You may say that, and we and again, I have a feeling that if a character becomes a fan favorite, that's the exact second that James Gunn is going to kill.
Yep. Man, I miss G.I. Robot though.
That's what. Oh yeah, I did. Yes, my favorite episode so far is G.I. Robot.
So much.
And they whacked him. Yeah, that was huge.
I don't know if they're. I mean, I gotta think they're gonna bring him back.
Maybe,
but I don't know. James Gunn doesn't normally like when he killed off Yondu, in Guardians, he was like, I don't want to bring him back, because if you bring a character back, then what was the point of their sacrifice?
Right, and then the stakes are lowered.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
For any other episode, any other character that dies. Okay, so then you get to and then obviously Frankenstein comes into play more at the end of 4, and it looks like in 5 gonna get a team up. So who is Frankenstein gonna team up with?
Rick Flag.
Rick Flag. All right. So yes, because I guess another plot point is obviously Rick Flag has a relationship with the princess now, and so when Waller is convinced, what does she do then? What is the next thing she does?
Sends the remaining of the Creature Commandos out to kill her.
Yes, and is Rick Flag happy with that?
Nope.
All right. So we've got Rick Flag then and Frankenstein going on a mission to somehow prove that Waller's wrong.
Yeah.
And that leads to episode 5. So in episode 5, it's a Frankenstein story. Yeah. So you get our first look at Frankenstein's backstory. And do you like the character of Frankenstein? Let me just put that there.
It's kind of like a love-hate relationship, because it's weird, because he's just like, he doesnn't believe him. And in this episode, there's that old woman that basically nurses him back to health. After the fight between... Yeah,
so it leads off from the fight between the bride and Frankenstein that we did see in episode maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
He catches on fire, falls out of the mansion.
That's right.
Falls into the river, flows downstream for I don't know how long, ends up on the banks of somewhere in Pakistan or wherever they are, and he gets found by an old gypsy woman, a blind gypsy woman and a dog.
Yeah.
So
because she talks about how towards the end of episode 5, where she's like, she doesn't love you, and he's like, nope, you're wrong. It's like, dude, she's telling you the truth.
Yeah, I would say not to, we don't really want to necessarily go there, but I would say that Frankenstein to me is James Gunn putting, I guess I'd want to say toxic masculinity into a character, and then putting him out there more, because I do not like Frankenstein. This guy is all sorts of immature because he was born as a fully grown being, but he didn't have any kind of stages of growth mentally, right? Because he was basically chased out and almost killed back in the day. And so he's a child mentally. He's fixated on someone.
Yeah.
Will not let them go or realize, and he's got some funny moments to him, but then it's abject murder. I mean, so he is not a redeemable character, and it's just weird watching it. It's it's uncomfortable.
It is
watching this character. Yeah. So good job on James Gunn making a character that it makes you laugh in 1 second. Then
I think that's why I kind of like him a little bit, is because, like you said, there are some funny parts, but then in in episode 5 when he's like with that old woman, you're like, oh wow, they kind of have like a nice little friendship going on, and then then the end you're like, oh wow, this guy not redeemable at all.
Yeah, so like I said, this is one of those instances where I mean I knew there was gonna be something. Did I think he would just out and out just murder the old woman at the end? So. I did not think so. No.
And then takes her dog.
No. Well, not even really. Now he doesn't kill the dog, which was interesting.
Yeah. Well,
the dog kind of just follows.
That's true.
So he didn't really take it, but the dog did follow. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. And so okay. So let's go back. I just wanted to talk about that.
Definitely.
Is the main thing is they go to spy on the expert that was brought in that was said to prove that that Cersei was right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and I mean I guess I didn't know why, I guess at the beginning, but it leads to the fact that
she is dead. Well, the real professor's dead.
That she is dead. So this proves to Flag that it was a setup. Now, I mentioned something about a plot point. So I don't agree with that. So one, how do we know when she was killed?
That's exactly what I was.
So was the real one? Was it the fake one that was at the task force or was it the real one? That's number one. Well, number two was Cersei did a mind meld on Amanda Waller, so it had nothing to do with the expert. So just because the expert may have been an imposter doesn't make what Cersei said any less real, because she had nothing to do with it. So, but Flag is looking for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I think, and this is just, I guess we can do conjecture. The show's going, because you've actually seen episode 6, so maybe I can throw a couple things out and see if I'm on the right path. So we'll move on. So anyway, so they find out she's dead, and then we find out who is, because she was alive in one scene, and then of course they go to her house to do searches, and they find her dead body. So the person that was in school was not her, and we find out who it is and who isn't.
It is Clayface.
It's Clayface. Okay.
And Rick and Frankenstein thought they were going to get past him, and that obviously did not happen.
No, not at all. And so this takes a turn again, and there's a big fight, and I give James Gunn credit, because a lot of times superhero movies, you'll have characters fighting that have superpowers and that don't have superpowers. Mm-hmm. And you your brain has to go, well, how is this person, famously it was the in Spider-Man 2, the movie, right?
Yeah.
Spider-Man's fighting Doc Ock. Spider-Man is hitting Doc Ock a lot in the face.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only person to say, well, Doc Ock's got super strong arms, that's one thing. But he's a normal, 60-year-old man getting punched by a person that can lift cars and throw them. How exactly is he not, his jaw fractured, or he has 7-degree concussions every time he gets hit, right? So it's that kind of, you kind of let it slide. But James Gunn doesn't.
Yeah, he does not. I mean, Rick Flag gets the snot beat out of him. But, thank goodness for Frankenstein, because if not, he really would be dead.
Well, and Frankenstein was almost killed. He barely Clayface is definitely a villain that, if you want to write him correctly, is very, very dangerous.
Yeah, definitely.
So, it wasn't just he got beaten up. He got baned.
What I'm gonna say. Because I think, like you said, he broke his back.
Actually, he did a bane on.
And Rick is an older guy.
Yes, and so here's a normal human who's in decent shape, but is clearly my age.
Okay.
And running around with superpowered people, and besides having a gun, has no other superpowers that I know of.
Right.
Now, maybe this is a misdirect, because I don't know. I haven't seen any more episodes. Mm-hmm. But to me, by the end of this episode, I mean, I think he killed Flag.
Okay.
So he looked pretty like, yeah, I mean, you got your back broken and he's coughing up blood and stuff like that. I don't know. To me, it seems like you'd probably die there. So the episode ends and it looks like Flag is dead. And then what's the other thing another character died that I was kind of upset about in this episode. Do you remember who I'm talking about?
Oh, yes, wasn't it one of the guards guys?
Yeah, it was Sergei.
Yeah, Sergei. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was Dr. Phosphorus.
Yeah. So obviously so there's two plot lines. Obviously, there's the Suicide Squad, the new version, going and to kill the princess, and then you've got the Frankenstein Flag thing. And so the other Suicide gets there. Sergei is he's the happy, Eastern European dude, and he's happy to see him. But halfway in, because Flag is able to get a hold of the princess, right? They know now that Suicide Squad there is actually there to kill the princess.
Yeah. He starts asking a little bit too many questions.
Yeah. And then they try to set up something, and I mean, Dr. Fuzz just
what was it he said? He's like, oh, I was starting to like that guy.
Yeah, and I think that's what most of the audience was saying too.
Yeah,
like, I like that guy.
Yeah. He was hilarious.
So he's definitely dead.
Yeah.
And then fighting ensues, and I mean, I don't know. What did you think about that? Whole thing?
Yeah, because they kind of all basically go their separate ways to like escape, from the bride or the princess's guards.
Right.
Well, now knowing, because I have seen episode 6, it gets a little interesting, like what happens like with Nina and the bride, and like where they end up, for maybe kind of like half of the episode 6. But obviously in episode 6, just blanketing it, it's about Dr. Phosphorus. So
okay,
but we definitely get a little bit more about him. But I thought I really liked episode 5. I'm trying not to go into episode 6.
Right? Yeah, just try not to go into. But I mean, they are split up, and again, it's one of those things where Dr. Phosphorus is really the only true weapon on that team. He is literally the most dangerous, maybe one of the most dangerous characters on the planet at this point. Definitely. I mean, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And then of course the bride is second because she's got super strength, super kind of invulnerability and stuff, so she can take a hit and she can jump real far and stuff like that. So both of them basically take out everyone. The other two, Weasel and Nina, from my point, is like, why is she on these missions?
Exactly.
Like, it seems like it's the old joke of Aquaman doing anything with the Justice League where there's not water involved. It's like, I mean, he's super strong, but it's like, unless there's water involved, why is she even there?
Yeah, 100%.
And then Weasel, okay, it's like he can go feral on anyone, I guess, but
he can be easily killed.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to catch him, I guess. But it was funny because even the guards, they do on the radio, they're like, just worry about Dr. Phosphorus and the bride because the other two don't matter. And
because
that's exactly the case. So
I mean, just like what was it in episode 2 maybe where Nina's glass bowl gets shot,
right?
So it's like after that it's like, okay, well, she's out of commission, like so I mean, like you said, Dr. Phosphorus and the bride are really the heavy hitters, like Rick Flag can't really do anything. Well, I mean, now he can't, but
right. So again, so as watching, if I'm watching this like maybe you guys are, at the end of 5, Rick Flag looks like he's dead. Now, will he be dead? I'm saying yes now, because that would be pretty on brand for Gunn and a pretty decent thing. Yeah. So we'll see if that happens. My other thought is, like I said, the way these kind of clairvoyant premonition type things go in movies and TV shows is in the effort to prevent them, they are the cause. Yeah. So I have a feeling this may be an issue of the fact that the American government has sent this assassin squad to take her out in thinking that she's going to be this warmonger, actually is what's going to make her a warmonger in the end, especially
Yeah.
if Flag dies. If she finds out that Flag dies, it's possible she gets super pissed at
That could be what leads it on.
at America, or maybe I don't know. So that would just be something going on, because it doesn't seem like she's overly evil or has an agenda that would lead her to do any of the things that the premonition says she's going to do.
Right.
So there's got to be some sort of twisty thing going on.
And like, what was his name? Sergei?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because he mentions, was it maybe episode 4, I think it was, where he's like, we didn't have any issues at all.
Oh, right. Until we reached out to the American government,
So,
and now all of a sudden you got assassins trying to kill us and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good case. Oh, and then the other thing was, why, the question to be answered for me as a viewer, why was that professor killed?
Right.
What possibly reason could that be? And then who hired Clayface to do it? Because obviously Clayface is not just there to kill her and then leave. Clayface was meant to kill her and then impersonate her so that no one knew she was dead. And why would Clayface isn't doing that on his own.
No.
Someone sent him to do that. So is that Waller? I would not expect that. I don't know if Clayface is incarcerated right now and is part of Task Force X.
Right.
Is he? Do we know that? Yes or no? Do we know if Clayface, the current Clayface, is actually in prison, so is under Amanda Waller's ability to use if she wanted to?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, because it wouldn't shock me if Waller sent Clayface to kill the professor because the professor was allowed into the base in this top secret thing and knows about the Cersei clairvoyance now. And so she's eliminating people that know about this because it's so super secret. So it wouldn't shock me that Waller sent Clayface to murder her and then impersonate her.
Yeah, either that or the princess.
Or then, like I said, they're going to have to be some storytelling done if they're going to make it the princess or an unknown third party.
Yeah, true.
I mean, do you think that they're going to wrap up, in your opinion, do you think they're going to wrap the princess story up? If a season 2 is greenlit, are they going to wrap the princess story up in 2 episodes?
I don't know, because, episode 6 didn't really.
And you're saying there's only 7? There's not 8?
7, yeah.
What a weird number.
Like, that's what I was going to think, yeah. So I'm like, well, they only have 25 more minutes of, to wrap everything up. So it's like,
all right.
Okay. I guess we'll see.
Well, I guess we'll see. All right. So hopefully you enjoyed this little spoiler conversation. If you've watched the Suicide Squad or the Creature Commandos cartoon, please comment. Say whether you like it. Who's your favorite character? Is Nina useless? Whatever, But thanks, James. I appreciate it.
Fun.
And I think we'll be back and talk about the final 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Sure.
All right. See you later. Thanks. Bye.